From the time many of us were little girls, we were taught the same quiet lesson over and over again. Be polite, don't make a fuss, smile even when you don't feel like it, and make sure everyone else is comfortable, even if you're not. Maybe you heard it directly, or maybe it was shown to you by how women around you behaved. Your mother, your teachers, maybe even the women you admired on TV, they reinforced it without even realizing it. And little by little, it became ingrained. If you want to be loved, if you want to be accepted, if you want to be seen as good, then you must be nice. Now, on the surface, being nice doesn't sound like a bad thing. We're told kindness makes the world go round, and of course kindness does matter. But there's a difference between kindness and this idea of being the nice girl. Because let's be honest, when people say, "Oh, she's such a nice girl," they don't always mean it as a compliment. What they often mean is, she doesn't cause trouble. She doesn't rock the boat. She stays in line. Being the nice girl isn't about kindness. It's about compliance. It's about silencing your own voice so you can keep everyone else happy. And here's the problem with that. When you're always bending, when you're always smiling through discomfort, when you're constantly making sure you don't upset anyone, you disappear. Your needs, your dreams, your boundaries, they start to vanish because you're so focused on everyone else's comfort. It's like you shrink yourself down just to fit into this box labeled nice. Think about it. How many times have you bitten your tongue when you really wanted to speak up? How many times have you said yes to something when deep down your whole body was screaming no? How many times have you pretended to be okay just to avoid making someone else uncomfortable? We've all done it. We've all played the nice girl at some point, and in the moment it might feel easier. But the truth is, every time we do it, we pay a price. I remember a moment early in my life when I was put in a situation where I didn't agree with what was happening. Every instinct inside me wanted to object, to stand up, to say, "This isn't right." But instead, I smiled, I nodded, and I stayed quiet. Why? Because I was worried about being seen as difficult. I didn't want to be labeled as rude or emotional or aggressive. So I swallowed my voice. I played the role. And for days after, I carried this heavy feeling inside me like I had betrayed myself. That's what being the nice girl does. It makes you betray yourself. And here's what's even more dangerous. Once people recognize that you're always the nice one, they start to expect it. They start to rely on it. They know you'll pick up the extra work. You'll smooth over the conflict. You'll take the blame. You'll say yes when nobody else will. And before you know it, you've trained everyone around you to overlook your needs because you've overlooked them yourself. That's how the trap works. The nice girl trap isn't just a personal struggle. It's a cultural one. Society rewards us for it. We're praised for being agreeable, for being selfless, for being sweet. Meanwhile, when a woman dares to speak her truth, set boundaries, or demand respect, she's called difficult, bossy, or worse. So the pressure to stay in the nice girl role is constant. But let me tell you, playing small to keep others comfortable doesn't lead to a fulfilling life. It leads to resentment, to exhaustion, and to a quiet kind of invisibility. And it's not just about our personal relationships. This trap shows up in our careers too. How many women have missed out on promotions, leadership roles, or recognition because they didn't want to seem pushy? How many ideas have gone unheard in boardrooms because the nice girl in the corner didn't want to interrupt? The truth is, being too nice can cost you opportunities. It can cost you respect. It can cost you your voice. But here's the thing I want you to hear clearly. You were not born to play small. You were not put on this earth just to make everyone else comfortable. You have a voice, you have opinions, you have power, and the world doesn't need you to water that down in the name of being nice. The world needs your fire. It needs your authenticity. It needs you to stop hiding behind the mask of politeness and start showing up as the bold, unapologetic version of yourself. So let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped being the nice girl? What would happen if, instead of nodding along, you spoke up? What would happen if, instead of saying yes out of obligation, you said no with confidence? What would happen if you stopped worrying so much about what people might think of you and started focusing on what you think of yourself? I'll tell you what happens. You stop living for everyone else and you start living for you. You stop shrinking and you start expanding. You stop betraying yourself and you start honoring yourself. And that, my friends, is the beginning of stepping into real power. The nice girl Trap might be comfortable because it feels familiar, but comfort zones are prisons in disguise. And today, I want to challenge you to walk out of that prison. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for approval. Decide right here, right now, that you're done playing small. Because the truth is simple, you don't owe anyone your silence. When you spend your life playing the nice girl, you don't just lose your voice, you lose pieces of yourself. And that's what people don't talk about enough. We glamorize being agreeable, being selfless, being the one who holds it all together, but nobody warns you about the cost. And believe me, there is a cost. Yes. You give when your heart is screaming. No. Every time you silence yourself to keep the peace, every time you put someone else's needs ahead of your own, that cost adds up. And eventually you feel the weight of it. The first cost is exhaustion. It's draining to constantly manage other people's feelings while ignoring your own. You wake up tired not because you didn't sleep, but because you've been carrying the invisible weight of keeping everyone happy. And it's funny. People think the nice girl has it easy, that she just smiles and goes with the flow. But what they don't see is the inner battle. The late nights replaying conversations in your head, worrying if you upset someone, stressing about how to fix something that wasn't even your responsibility in the first place. People pleasing is a full-time job, and it doesn't come with vacation days. The second cost is resentment. You try so hard to be liked, to be needed, to be accepted, but after a while, that constant giving without receiving back in equal measure starts to build a quiet anger inside you. You smile on the outside, but inside you're asking, when is it my turn? Who's taking care of me? That resentment eats away at your joy. It poisons your relationships because deep down, you know they don't see the real you, they just see the version of you that serves them. And let's talk about identity. People-pleasing blurs your sense of self. When your worth is wrapped up in what others think, you lose track of who you are. You start living on autopilot, making choices not because they align with your values, but because they align with someone else's expectations. It's like you're living someone else's life, and at some point you wake up and wonder, how did I even get here? Who am I really? That's one of the heaviest costs, the loss of your true identity. Another cost, one that hits deeply, is the lack of respect. And this one is tough to admit. But when you train people to expect that you'll always bend, always agree, always put yourself second, they stop valuing your boundaries. They stop listening to your needs. They start assuming you'll just take it. And while you think you're earning their love by always pleasing them, what you're really earning is their dependency without their respect. And then there's the physical toll. Stress isn't just an emotional experience. It lives in your body. People-pleasing keeps you in a constant state of tension. You feel it in the tightness in your chest, the headaches that won't go away, the knot in your stomach every time you agree to something you don't want to do. It's your body trying to tell you, this isn't right. But the nice girl in you says, just push through. Just smile. That constant suppression of your truth takes a real, tangible toll on your health. But maybe the biggest cost of all is that people-pleasing keeps you small. It keeps you from stepping into your full potential. Because here's the truth, greatness doesn't come from being agreeable. Leaders don't change the world by playing it safe. The women who inspire us, the ones who left a mark, didn't get there by being universally liked. They got there by being real, by being bold, by being willing to be misunderstood. And if you're stuck in the cycle of trying to keep everyone else happy, you never give yourself the chance to rise into that level of power. I'll tell you something I had to learn the hard way. People pleasing is a losing game. You can bend yourself in 100 different directions. You can sacrifice your own peace 1,000 times, and there will still be someone who doesn't approve of you. There will still be someone who thinks you should have done more or done it differently. And when you realize that no matter how nice you are, you'll never win universal approval, you start to understand how pointless the game really is. And here's what's ironic. When you stop trying to please everyone, when you start honoring your own boundaries, when you start saying no with conviction, that's when people begin to respect you. That's when they start to see you as strong, as someone who knows her worth. The very thing you were chasing by being a people pleaser. Acceptance, validation, respect. You only truly get when you stop living for others and start living for yourself. But I know letting go of people pleasing isn't easy. It feels risky. It feels scary. What if they don't like me anymore? What if they call me selfish? What if they walk away? And yes, some people might. But I want you to think about this. If someone's love or loyalty is dependent on you constantly betraying yourself, is that love or loyalty even real? Do you really want to build your life on such fragile ground? The truth is, you can't build a strong, meaningful life on the shaky foundation of other people's approval. It won't hold. At some point, you have to decide that your peace, your authenticity, and your self-respect matter more than being liked. Because when you stop trying to be everything for everyone, you finally give yourself permission to be someone real for you. And that's when you discover the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop people pleasing, you don't lose yourself. You finally find yourself. When you've been stuck in the cycle of being the nice girl and the people pleaser, it's easy to forget something fundamental. Your worth has nothing to do with how much you do for others, how agreeable you are, or how many people like you. Your worth is not up for negotiation. But for so long, many of us have lived like it is. We've let external validation become the measuring stick for how valuable we feel. If someone praises us, we feel worthy. If someone criticizes us, we shrink. If people accept us, we glow. If they reject us, we crumble. And that cycle keeps us trapped, constantly chasing approval like it's oxygen. The truth is, when you tie your worth to what other people think, you're giving away your power. You're placing your sense of identity in hands that were never meant to hold it. People's opinions shift like the wind. They're influenced by their mood, their insecurities, their experiences, things that have nothing to do with you. And yet we hand over our confidence to those shifting opinions and then wonder why we feel unstable, why we feel like we're never enough. But let me ask you this. Who decided that you needed someone else's permission slip to feel valuable? Who told you that you had to earn love by bending yourself out of shape? Who convinced you that your no is only valid if everyone else is comfortable with it? Somewhere along the way, we picked up these false beliefs, and we've been carrying them like heavy bags on our backs. It's time to set those bags down. Redefining your worth means realizing that it's not something you chase. It's something you already have. It's not given to you by the world. It's built into you. The day you were born, you were worthy. You didn't need to prove anything. You didn't need to earn anything. You didn't need to play a role. You were enough simply by existing. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, we forget that truth. We get conditioned to believe we're only as good as our performance, our appearance, our ability to please. But deep down, the truth hasn't changed. You are still worthy, whether anyone else acknowledges it or not. And part of stepping into that truth is learning to set boundaries. Saying no doesn't make you unkind. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. Saying no is a declaration that your time, your energy, and your peace have value. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors that show others the right way to enter your life. And when you begin to set them, something powerful happens. You stop living like a guest in your own life and you start living like the owner. But I know for many of us, saying no feels terrifying at first. We worry about disappointing people. We worry about being judged. We worry about conflict. And yet every time you choose someone else's comfort over your own truth, you reinforce the lie that your needs don't matter. And if you keep reinforcing that lie, you eventually believe it. That's why boundaries are not optional. They're essential. They are the practical expression of self-worth. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two women. One says yes to every request that comes her way. She stretches herself thin. She's always available. She never wants to be a burden. She keeps the peace no matter what. From the outside, she looks like the perfect friend, the perfect coworker, the perfect daughter. But on the inside, she's exhausted, unfulfilled, and quietly resentful. The other woman says yes sometimes, but she also says no often and unapologetically. She protects her energy. She speaks up when something doesn't feel right. She's not always liked, but she is respected. And most importantly, she respects herself. Now let me ask you, who do you think feels more alive? Who do you think is living closer to her truth? Redefining your worth also means shifting the way you talk to yourself. Because let's be honest, some of the harshest critics we face are not out there. They're in here, in our own minds. That little voice that says, you're not enough. You should be doing more. You should be better. That voice is not the truth. It's the echo of all the conditioning you've absorbed. And the more you listen to it, the more it shapes how you show up. But the moment you start replacing that voice with one that says, I am enough, I am worthy. I have value. Whether anyone sees it or not, everything changes. The way you see yourself sets the tone for how others see you. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll tolerate disrespect. If you believe your voice doesn't matter, you'll keep it silent. If you believe your only value is in how much you give, you'll keep giving until there's nothing left of you. But if you believe you are worthy as you are, you'll stop chasing love and start attracting respect. You'll stop begging for a seat at the table and start building your own. And that's the shift. When you redefine your worth, you stop being reactive to the world and you start becoming intentional about how you move through it. You're no longer trying to manage other people's opinions. You're anchored in your own truth. And that kind of confidence is magnetic. People may not always agree with you, but they will feel your strength. They will see that you're not playing small anymore. And yes, some people will fall away when you start living like that. The ones who only valued you for what you could do for them might call you selfish. The ones who like the quiet, compliant version of you might resist. But the ones who truly love you, the ones who truly respect you, will adjust. They will rise to meet the new standard you've set. And even if some don't, you'll realize that losing their approval isn't the end of the world. It's the beginning of freedom. Because the moment you stop measuring your worth by how much you give away and start measuring it by how fully you honor yourself, you finally understand you were never too much and you were never not enough. When you finally recognize that your worth is not defined by how much you give away, when you understand that you don't need anyone's approval to feel valuable, something shifts inside of you. It's like a door opens, a door that's been waiting all along. And behind it is your voice, your strength, your power. The truth is that power has always been there. It's not something you need to borrow. It's not something you need to ask for. And it's certainly not something you need permission to use. But for too long, we've been taught to mute it. And now it's time to take it back. Owning your voice doesn't mean you suddenly become loud or aggressive or confrontational. It simply means you stop silencing yourself. It means that when something matters to you, you say it. It means that when something feels wrong, you call it out. It means that when you have a dream, an idea, a vision, you put it into words instead of burying it out of fear. Your voice is not just sound coming out of your mouth, it is your presence in the world. And when you use it with clarity and confidence, people notice. But I know for many of us, speaking up can feel uncomfortable. We've been conditioned to believe that if we're too direct, people will see us as rude. If we're too passionate, they'll call us emotional. If we stand our ground, we'll be labeled difficult. And so we've learned to water down our truth. We've learned to apologize before we even open our mouths. We've learned to soften our edges so nobody feels threatened. But here's the reality. When you dim your voice, you dim your power. And the world doesn't need more women who are silent. It needs women who are unapologetically real. So how do you start owning your voice? The first step is practicing honesty with yourself. You cannot speak truth into the world if you're still lying to yourself about what you want, what you need, and what you deserve. You have to be brave enough to ask, what do I really feel? What do I really believe? What do I really want for my life? And when those answers come, you have to be willing to stand by them, even if they're not popular, even if they make others uncomfortable. That's where your power begins, in the courage to be radically honest with yourself. The second step is setting boundaries through your words. A lot of people think boundaries are just about actions, but they are also about language. Every time you say, no, that doesn't work for me. Every time you say, I need time to think about it. Every time you say, this is what I expect, you are declaring your worth out loud. And the more you practice it, the stronger you feel. At first, it might feel shaky. Your voice might even tremble. But over time, your words will carry a weight that people can feel. The third step is speaking without apology. How many times do we start sentences with, I'm sorry, but, or this might sound silly, but, or I don't know if this makes sense, but. Do you see what we're doing? We're discrediting ourselves before we even give our words a chance to land. Stop apologizing for existing. Stop apologizing for having ideas. Stop apologizing for taking up space. You are allowed to take up space with your words, with your truth, with your presence. And the more you do it unapologetically, the more others will adjust to your power. And then there's the fourth step, using your voice, not just for yourself, but for others. Because once you've stepped into your own strength, you realize that your voice has the power to create ripples. When you speak up, you give permission to the woman sitting in silence to do the same. When you use your voice to call out injustice, you're not just protecting yourself, you're opening the door for change. Your voice is not just your tool for survival, it is your tool for impact. Owning your power goes hand in hand with owning your voice. Power doesn't mean domination, it means presence. It means walking into a room and carrying yourself in a way that says, I know who I am and I don't need to prove it. It means standing firmly in your decisions, even if they're unpopular. It means refusing to shrink when you succeed, refusing to apologize for your ambition, and refusing to tone yourself down to make others feel more comfortable. And yes, stepping into this level of ownership will make some people uncomfortable. Some will call you intimidating. Some will try to make you doubt yourself. Some will walk away. But those are not your people. The ones who are meant to walk with you will respect your voice. They will rise to meet your strength. They will celebrate your power because they know it doesn't diminish theirs. The truth is, the world has enough nice girls. What it needs are women who are unapologetically themselves, women who are not afraid to use their voices, women who set the tone instead of waiting for permission, women who lead with both strength and authenticity. That is how change happens. That is how respect is built. That is how legacies are created. So I want you to imagine the version of yourself who no longer bites her tongue, who no longer says yes out of fear, who no longer shrinks in the presence of others. Imagine the version of yourself who stands tall, speaks clearly, sets boundaries, commands respect, and owns her power fully. That version of you is not some distant dream. It's already within you, waiting to be claimed. Because the moment you decide to own your voice and your power, you stop being the nice girl, and you start being unstoppable.